In the dead of night, you ever seen red and blue lights just tear a hole through the darkness, lighting up every window on the block, making your quiet cul-de-sac look like the set of some big-budget crime drama? Yeah, that's exactly what happened on Maple Ridge Court. I was sitting in my home office, minding my business, and suddenly the place looked like a tactical operations zone, federal agents spilling out of black SUVs, radios chirping, weapons drawn. And you know the wildest part? It all started because a woman in a purple bathrobe, Karen Fitzgerald, our infamous HOA president, pressed the wrong button. My house was the epicenter of the madness, and if you told me 6 months ago I'd be telling this story, I'd have laughed you right off my porch. Let me back up a second so you get the full picture. My name's David Lawson. I moved into Maple Ridge Estate thinking it'd be the last place I'd need to worry about trouble. I work remotely as a senior systems engineer for Titan Defense Systems, which sounds fancier than it is, but the reality is my job involves handling stuff so sensitive, I sometimes have to check if my own shadow's classified. Titan installed a security system in my house that'd make Fort Knox jealous. Biometric locks, encrypted comms, reinforced everything, direct line to the Pentagon. The whole 9 yards. Maple Ridge seemed perfect at first. Trees lined up like soldiers, lawns cut with military precision, neighbors waving like extras in a Hallmark movie. The only thing I didn't account for was Karen. From the jump, Karen made it clear she was the self-proclaimed guardian of Maple Ridge. She welcomed me with this icy little smile and handed me the HOA manual. 347 pages, printed and color-coded like it was the U.S. tax code. We take community standards very seriously here, she chirped, and buddy, she wasn't lying. It started small. A citation for my trash cans sitting out 30 minutes past the approved window. A letter about my grass being an eighth of an inch too long. Everything I did seemed to land me another warning, each with time-stamped photos, bylaws highlighted, her signature at the bottom like a little stamp of doom that I tried to play along. Switched up my lawn schedule, set alarms for trash day, put up these screens around my ASC unit to preserve visual harmony, whatever that means. But it never ended. Karen had a radar for any imperfection. Then she caught wind of the security tweaks Titan had put in. The cameras, reinforced doors, sensors everywhere. She started walking past my house 4-5 times a day, always with that clipboard, squinting at every angle, trying to sniff out some violation. Section 12.4, Mr. Lawson. No surveillance infringing on neighbors' privacy, she'd announced like a prosecutor. I assured her everything was legal and cleared with my employer, but she just looked at me like I'd told her I was launching rockets out of the living room. What really set things off, though, was the night she took things too far. It was late, nearly midnight. I was in my office, code deep, when the security alert pinged. I checked the cameras, and no joke, there she was, Karen, in that signature purple bathrobe and slippers, creeping across my lawn with a flashlight and, believe it or not, a screwdriver. She wasn't there for her usual measuring or peeking. This time, she went straight to my utility panel, the one that controlled my electrical and security grid. My first instinct was to march out and confront her, but I hesitated. You know what? Let's see how far she's willing to go. I pulled out my phone and started recording. She got the panel open, practically grinning, muttering to herself about illegal activity and server farms. What she didn't realize is Titan had booby-trapped that panel with a pressure sensor. The second she poked around, all hell broke loose. Every light in my house snapped red, steel shutters slammed over the windows, floodlights bathed the yard in a blinding glow. Most importantly, a silent alarm zipped straight to Titan HQ. Yeah, the Pentagon. Karen panicked, tried to bolt, but the magnetic gate locks had her boxed in. She dashed across my lawn, tripping sensors left and right, each one escalating the threat. My phone blew up, security alerts, calls from Titan, and then the big one, a text from my handler. Federal response team deployed. ETA 12 minutes. Shelter in place. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just HOA drama anymore. 12 minutes later, you'd think Hollywood was filming a raid in my neighborhood. Black SUVs screamed to a halt. Agents in full tactical gear fanned out, weapons ready, a helicopter circling overhead. My place turned into the brightest spot in the county. Karen was still scrambling in the backyard, pressed up against the fence, shrieking that it was all a mistake. "I'm the HOA president," she yelled as the agents surrounded her. The lead agent, Morrison, a giant of a man, FBI vest, all business, ordered her to step away from the fence. She kept blubbering about illegal equipment and community standards, her finger shaking as she pointed at my house. That's when I stepped outside, holding up my Titan-issued badge, trying to cut through the chaos. David Lawson, Titan Defense. This is a false alarm. Neighbor tampering with security equipment. Morrison got on his radio, checked my credentials, then nodded, lowering his rifle. "Mr. Lawson, we'll need a full debrief." And her. He gestured at Karen, who looked ready to pass out. She broke into my utility panel trying to find HOA violations. I said, not even hiding the satisfaction. For once, Karen was silent, face as pale as the moon as the implications started to dawn. The next hour was a blur of questions, forms, code verifications. The agents documented every inch of the tampered panel, took statements. Karen didn't say a word. When it was finally over, Morrison laid it out for her, dead serious. "You've triggered a federal security response by tampering with classified defense infrastructure. That's a serious federal offense." Karen tried to protest, "But I didn't know." But Morrison just shook his head. Ignorance isn't a defense. At minimum, it's trespassing on federal property. At worst, attempted espionage. Her knees buckled. I added, maybe a little too gleefully, "Don't forget the stalking and harassment. I've got a 6-month paper trail." Morrison scribbled notes and told her, flat out, she'd be receiving a federal summons and advised her to get a lawyer. "Any further incidents, Miss Fitzgerald, and you'll be arrested on the spot." By dawn, Maple Ridge was buzzing. The neighborhood had been out there with their phones, recording every second. By lunchtime, the video was viral. Hashtag Pentagon Karen, hashtag HOA goes wrong. Local news picked it up, then national. Karen Fitzgerald, the face of HOA overreach. It was a meme, a warning, a spectacle. The HOA board had an emergency meeting. I showed up with my files and a letter from Titan's legal team, laying out the liability Karen's actions had dumped on the association. The board didn't hesitate. A unanimous vote removed Karen as president, effective immediately. But karma wasn't done yet. The real kicker? Federal charges. Trespassing on property with classified materials. Tampering with federal security equipment. Attempted breach of national defense infrastructure. I watched Karen's lawyer, a guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, fumble through her plea. The judge, a woman who could freeze water with a glance, didn't look impressed. "Ms. Fitzgerald, you admit to trespassing and tampering with government-related equipment?" Karen could barely whisper, "Yes, Your Honor." The prosecutor agreed to a reduced sentence for her guilty plea. The judge pronounced it 2 years probation, $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, and a warning that any violation would land her in jail. You could see the moment she realized what she'd done: federal record, career in ruins, real estate license under review, neighbors whispering her name like a ghost story. The same folks she'd bullied for years now looked right through her. The lesson, at least for Maple Ridge, was clear as day. Don't go looking for trouble you can't handle, and don't mess with things you don't understand. Or, as Morrison put it, maybe put up some big warning signs, Mr. Lawson. These days, I keep my gates locked and my security signs bold. As for Karen, well, I guess even HOA presidents can't rule over common sense. Now here's what I want to know. Where's the line between community order and personal privacy? Did Karen deserve what she got, or did the system overreact? I'm honestly curious what you'd do in my shoes, or if you've ever tangled with a power-tripping neighbor. Drop your thoughts below. Let's see whose side you're on. Because out here in suburbia, you never really know who's watching or what they might set off.